you've been running, and baby, you ain't been true. Nobody in the whole wide world put up with the likes of you, the way you've been keeping your time. Baby, I sure got me a worried mind. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you for checking us out. This is Backstage at the Blues Fest, the 2015 Baton Rouge Blues Fest. My name is Alex Cook, and I am delighted to be up here with the original house wrecker, Kenny Acosta.
It's a pleasure to be here and an honor as well.
Well, thank you. Now, this is by far not your first Blues Fest.
No, actually, they told me this would be my 13th one.
13th? This is well, we're a lucky one then, I guess.
My 13th one.
So when did you first play Blues Fest?
I started at the very second one. The first 2 or 3, I believe, were held at Southern University.
Yeah.
On the Bluffs. It was just a brilliant place to have it. I'm not sure why we moved it from there. I guess maybe it just got too big for there.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
But I was on all those first shows, probably all the first 8 or 9 shows.
And you grew up here in Baton Rouge, correct?
I did. I did. You know, you go back to those old blues festivals that you're talking about, and you know all those guys that played there, they're gone.
Yeah.
Mr. Milburn, Big Lucius Brown, Big Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
You know, and now Tabby and Rayful. You know?
Right.
I guess the only one that I'm not going to outlive is Mr. Gray.
Evidently.
He's going to go forever, I think.
I think so. Well, when you started playing, now, did you start playing blues as a kid? Were you exposed to the blues as a kid here, or?
Well, somewhat. I grew up with music in my family. My great grandmother taught music at the University of Centenary. And that was many, many years ago. And my mother played music. We always had a piano in the house. And I can remember as a young fella, one anniversary, my father gave his wife, my mother, a stereo. It was a component down. They had just come out. And
yeah.
They had given her like 50 free records. And the one that struck me was the Dukes of Dixieland.
Yeah.
It was kind of bluesy, but it was 175 miles an hour.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So
exactly.
I kind of clicked with that.
Yeah.
You know, but we always had music in the house. Blues came a little bit later. Actually, I fell in love with the blues listening to a blues legend, Lightning Hopkins.
Really? Where did you first hear Lightning Hopkins?
On Stanford Avenue at the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
I went out and bought me an acoustic guitar the next day.
Really?
Uh-huh.
When was that? When did you see Lightning Hopkins at the Speakeasy?
I want to say that was 1969.
Wow.
Maybe 1970.
Wow.
Probably 69.
So you went and bought a guitar the next day?
The very next day.
I got you hooked.
It changed my whole life.
Yeah.
It changed my whole life. I was playing football up at Northeast in Monroe, and when I got that guitar, I didn't have no more class.
Yeah.
I kind of
that happens when you get a guitar.
Quit
sometimes.
attending. But you know, I'll say this. You know, as soon as I played it and realized how hooked I was, I knew I would have no regrets.
Yeah.
So, and I don't. I don't have
don't.
any.
Yeah. Now you went from. This was at Monroe, where you went to college,
Mm-hmm.
and you went out to Austin.
I
correct?
did.
So what was the deal in Austin? How'd you break into that scene? Like who was playing in that scene around?
Well,
the
you
time?
know, they did a newspaper article one time when I was there. They had over 2,300 garage bands in Austin, which meant 99% of the bands that played made up about 1% of the ones that were actually working in clubs.
Right, right.
You know, everybody had a band, but everybody was into music is really what it was.
Yeah.
But however, I was a little athletic, I guess. I had a couple of guys there who were kind of on the big stage at the time. Sir Doug Somm. You ever heard
That
him?
is.
And Alvin Crow. And they were softball junkies. And I liked a little softball myself.
Uh-huh.
And one day after a game, Doug and Alvin pulled me to the side and said, "Look, Kenny, if you'll come play shortstop for our team, you can open up all our shows."
So you were a ringer. So you
I
were
was
brought
a-
in as a softball ringer.
I was a softball
And that's how you broke
ringer.
into the Austin
I sure
Blues
was.
scene.
And just like that, I was on the big stage, which meant just like that, I needed some musicians that knew what the heck was going on.
Right.
Because I couldn't say that I did at the time.
Sure.
But it didn't take long, you know. I was having a good time with my instrument and, you know, meeting people and getting opportunities, you know, things that happen to young people, young and upcomers, you know.
Now, speaking of things that happen to young people, I want to talk about a story that's attached to you about when you were young growing in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's
Now, it's
kind of,
Louisiana.
I'm
Jackson,
sorry, yeah, that's right, Jackson, Louisiana. And it's tied to Justice Blues, which is
Uh-huh. Yeah.
really one of your signature tunes.
Actually,
And-
I just have re-recorded that song, and it's a title cut to my latest CD. You want to talk about?
I want to talk about that, what happened out there in the woods.
You want to talk about when it was kind of exciting?
Yes, yes.
Well, I had an uncle, Uncle Mike Norwood, rest his soul, passed away a couple of years ago. He and I were a year apart, and he was my dad's little brother, and he and I were like brothers. And my grandmother lived in a house right across the street from the remains of the Centenary College that's still there in East Feliciana Parish today. And she was living in a home that was built for my great-grandmother by her husband to teach music in the university there. And one day, my uncle and I ventured across the street, and we got up underneath the structure. And every time you would go about 20 feet, there would be a reinforcement wall, but there would be a little square that you could climb through to the next one.
Right.
And we went up there, we went in there about 5 or 6. It smelled weird, like nobody had been in there for a long time. It was scary. We had a flashlight, and we saw bloody bandages.
Wow. Okay.
So we started looking around, but we couldn't see nothing. And started to go flash the light in the next one, but we couldn't do that. We just got out of there as fast as we could. And later, after listening to Lightning, one of his favorite songs, he had a good story in front of it. It was about old Rolling Mill. And that's pretty much the way that song.
And so the story is that there was an escapee from the
From
the mental hospital.
From the mental institution there. And which, you know, happens all the time. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
You go up there
yeah.
today and it still does. It might be a roadblock, you know, so.
Yeah.
So, but.
So, but that led you, and you're talking like Penitentiary Blues by
Oh, yeah.
Lightning Hopkins. And that kind of led you to write Justice Blues.
Yeah.
Well,
Said-
could we
said
hear a little bit of that?
Lightning would start his song at there was a boy that had a real bad stutter. He stuttered so bad that sometimes his mom and daddy couldn't understand him. And it told a little story, you know, and Justice Blues was pretty much the same thing. When I was a little boy, I used to go and visit my grandmother up in Jackson, Louisiana. Now, there's not much in Jackson. Mostly what they got is the East Feliciana Mental Institution for the criminally insane. One day I was playing up beneath that old Centenary College, and I run into an escapee. And he told me something I had never forgot. He said, boy, it don't matter what you're doing in the world today. It don't matter what you're doing at all. Because this is a crazy world. And just about then we heard them hound dogs coming. And that's when he looked at me and he said, you know, boy, that is a cost unless you get caught. Because if you get caught, you got to go before the man and get your justice. And Justice Good went like this. Whoa! Justice. Loud. Somebody say you was an honest man. Yeah, nah. Oh, justice, justice. Somebody say you was an honest man. But oh, Judge, he don't want to help you. Don't you know nobody else can?
This is Kenny Acosta, if you're just catching us now at the Backstage at the 2015 Baton Rouge Blues Fest.
Yes, it is.
Now, well, do you consider yourself more of a blues player, or you consider yourself more of a songwriter, or like how do you, do those, because I mean, sometimes they're, some people kind of gravitate toward one or the other.
Have you ever heard of an instant bystander?
Innocent bystander?
An instant
bystander. Okay.
From the instant I heard Lightning Hopkins play blues, I have loved blues music. Now, I have strived to become better at playing it, but, I mean, that's a life lesson that takes a life to live out,
Sure.
I'm a student of the blues.
Yeah.
Although I do have my few moments where I get to spread it around a little bit.
Well, I wanted to talk about that. Now, you actually teach, what do you teach?
Well,
and where do you teach?
I teach in my home in Central. About 4 years ago, my wife and I came off the road. My wife has been managing me for close to 10 years now, and we were getting tired of traveling, not to mention I was having a few little medical issues with the traveling, nothing serious, but I needed to stop.
Okay.
So we decided, why not pass some of this along? It's not like, I'm going to try to hoard anything. If I've got something that somebody else would like to have, then and they're willing to do the work that it takes to achieve it, then I'm willing to spend my time with them.
Sure.
And pass it along to them. And I can't tell you how many students that I've had that have really made me proud in so many ways. And so it's almost like an extension of performing. When they play, it's almost like I'm playing.
Sure.
And it's
now, are your students are these kids, or these adults, or these
different?
Yeah.
I had a lady come to me. She was in her mid-70s. She said it was on her bucket list to play the bass guitar. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not a bass guitarist, but I understand the scales on the guitar and the bass, and I was able to show her how to play. She's 80 years old, and she's probably playing 3 or 4 times a week now. I hadn't seen her in a year. So,
Well,
and then I've got some young kids that are really achieving great things.
Well, I think it's on the bucket list for a lot of people. It was for me, and that's how I took lessons with Dave Henson, and that's how I got involved with it, and broken into that.
Well, good. I'm going to be coming over there and checking out your band.
All right, man. All right. So you want to get your buddy Steve up here?
Yeah, Steve, come on up here. Let's play a little tune for him.
You want to jump on this mic, Steve? This is Steve Smith?
Steve Smith.
All right. And what tune are y'all going to play?
I don't know. We're going to make it up as we go.
All right.
This is Stephen Smith. He is from Central Louisiana. And we'll get him to close out the little show with me here. You better try you an A harmonica. I got the key to the highway. I'm built out and bound to go. I'm gonna leave here running, baby, walking much too slow. I'm going back to the bottom. Lord, that's where Kenny better know. I'm gonna roam this highway. Lord, roam in my home. You got it figured out, man? Do it one time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve. All right.
So, what I was gonna ask about, you know, I read you've played with a number of different people here, and one of the names, one of the names that struck out, and he's kind of a name that struck out. You played with Muddy Waters.
I did.
Now, how'd that come about?
Well, we made a record. It's a white record. It just said Kenny Acosta and the House Records on the front. And it became a very popular record on the radio station in Lafayette.
Yeah, oh yeah. I remember seeing that record everywhere.
And
I was, you know, in college in the 80s.
I used to play a lot of shows at Grant Street with a dear friend of mine who's been gone for a while now, Cadillac Cook. And we were asked to do a couple of shows with Muddy. We had just gotten through doing one with Taj Mahal, and we'd just done one the week before that with Bobby Bland.
Okay.
And they said, we got Muddy coming in here. He's going to do 2 shows. This was about 2 months before he passed. And the club owner decided to boil some crabs for Muddy's band and my band. And we had a big backstage area. And it was just Muddy and I, and I'm assuming Muddy's date. And they were sitting on the couch and just laughing. He would peel a little crawfish and stick it on his lip and then stick it out there. And she would take that crawfish tail and they would just giggle. And I'd say, man, y'all need to get out of here. But we sat back there and ate crabs for about 2 or 3 hours. And
wow.
We did 2 shows together and had a great time. You know, Muddy Waters was, I had met Muddy a couple of times in Austin in the 70s when he had played with a good friend of mine, Kim Wilson, who was the harmonica player for the Thunderbirds.
Right.
And so I had met Muddy before, but that's the first time I ever got to play with him.
Yeah.
And not only did we get to open the show, but we did get to play with him.
Cool.
And that was really cool.
That is very cool.
And I was really sad to hear of his passing right after that.
Well, do you think, you know, do you think people get those kind of opportunities anymore? Because, like, you know, like you were saying earlier, you know, a lot of the big names here in town have passed. A lot of the big names in blues have passed. I mean, we had kind of a scare with.
Well,
over the
I
weekend,
think
you know?
I think that in my time, a few more of us could sneak through.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in present time, that everything is just really put under the eyeglass. You know, everything's looked at so hard.
Yeah.
These contests that they seem to be having around the country, and American Idol and the Guitar
Right.
Center and these type of things. You know, we just had a wonderful young guy from Baton Rouge here win that guitar.
Yeah, Jonathan Boogie Long.
Boogie Long. And you know, I mean, that's an opportunity that you can go out and make for yourself nowadays.
Yeah.
But you know, for the guys that can't win that, you know, that doesn't mean that they don't have something to offer.
Right.
You know, and some of those guys could actually come along and be bigger than the guy that
Well,
actually
isn't
won,
that kind
you
of
know?
like sort of what the blues is about? I mean, I went through and listened to a number of your songs, and what strikes me about your songs is they're about the everyday. They're about like you've got a great instrumental one called Tubin. That is like, I mean, there is nothing more like, I mean, all you got to say is Tubin.
Uh-huh.
There's not much more you can say about that. It's fun.
Well,
it's like
actually, it was
everyday.
inspired by a tubing trip.
I would
Yeah,
imagine.
and there were no needs, no words necessary.
No, because what are you going to say that's going to break out a Tubin trip? So what are those kind of things that inspire you to write a song, or what does it take to like? How does that land? you
Well,
know?
every song is different.
Sure.
I have written songs in my sleep. Gotten up in the middle of the night and went down there and wrote them down.
Mm-hmm.
I have also thought of tender subjects, family subjects to write about, and have sat there and just put myself into a pool of tears until I had to quit.
Right.
You know, 15 or 20 times before I ever was successful in writing the song that I wanted to begin with. So once you start putting your feelings into the song, you know, they become a little harder. Just recently, I wrote a song for one of my daughters, and I literally couldn't play it for you without falling to pieces right here.
Yeah.
So we won't go there.
Okay.
But you know, some songs are a joke. You know, just a fun passing idea. You know, let's make up a song about this beautiful girl that everybody wants her. You know, but you know, it turns out she's not even a girl. You know, I mean, you know, I mean, you can
That
take
is a blues
you
situation
can
right
take
there.
songs anywhere you want to go,
Yeah.
and they're all different.
Sure.
They're all different. They all end up different. They all come from a different spot in your heart, in your soul, wherever they come from.
Okay. So let's hear like a little snip of one more. How about a little bit of Hot Dog? Because that's another one that's like associated with you, and then we'll kind of open this up for questions.
You ought to see my baby early in the morning, getting out of bed, stretching and yawning. She the finest woman all across the land. She take a schoolboy, turn him to a man. She a hot dog. Yeah, she a hot dog. Oh, she got all the groovy moves. My baby, she's a real hot dog. You know that she don't want what I don't want. I never hear a sigh. And when Anytime for loving, we got country hugging loving. And she don't never lie. You oughta see my baby early in the morning, getting out of bed, stretching and yawning. She the finest woman all across the land, yeah. Beat all them girls in penthouse. Ooh, man, she a hot dog. Yeah, she a hot dog. Say, baby, what is that all over the front of that brand new dress I just got you? Mustard. Yeah. That's right. You a hot dog, you know it.
Well, we've just got a few minutes. I wanted to open this up to questions. If anybody's got questions for the mighty Kenny Acosta.
I haven't gotten many answers right in my lifetime, but I'll try to help you.
That's all right. This is not a test.
Okay.
Looking forward to the show, Ken.
Yeah, well,
I am too.
Kenny is going to be playing downstairs at the Swamp Blue stage at 2:10. I would be remiss if I didn't say my band, the Rakers, is going to play at 3:15 out of the front entrance. Let's give a big round of applause for Kenny Acosta, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.